Guys, welcome to the Newbie Podcast, how to set up a podcast 101. Got to make sure your audio is on before you get started.
You good? You got room?
We're good. We're good.
All right.
We're good.
Let's rock and roll.
Let's rock and roll, baby. Sorry for the delay, guys. So, Joey Chen, you want to do the intros one more time?
Yes, sir. So we have our co-host of Lada and our next co-host, Joe Fowler.
How's everyone doing?
All right. And then we have our special guest, Amit Darji.
Let's go.
And Amit, can you give us a quick intro of yourself, about a minute or two before you got into real estate, and then we'll transition into real estate.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thanks so much for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure that you guys thought of me to bring me out. A quick little recap on me. So before I got into real estate, I was in pharmaceuticals. I used to handle generic drug development. For about 12 years I did that, and I managed 2 plants here in Jersey and 1 plant in Florida. So I saw the entire formulation from raw materials all the way until FDA got it approved. And once it was approved, it went over to the sales department, and then I was out of the picture. I did that until 2018.
Okay.
And then July of 2018, here I am, been in full-time real estate since then.
Have you did you speak at one of Nick Tang's events before?
I have not.
Okay, I thought that was. I know somebody that talked about pharmaceuticals.
A lot of brown people look the same.
I think he's a brown guy. Yeah.
You're running for president, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's probably my distant cousin or something. Vivek, let's go, Vivek. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got an automatic vote for me, just
Yeah.
by association.
Nice. No, so tell us about how you got into real estate, because pharmaceutical and real estate, they don't really relate that much.
No.
So how did you get into real estate?
So growing up, I always used to watch my uncle, who lived with us, do a very crappy job around the house fixing stuff up. But he tried, right? So I always used to follow him around. I'd help him. I'd hold the hammer, I'd hold the tool here and there. So that was kind of the seed was already planted. And as I started working in my career in pharmaceuticals, the last 3 years of my career, I was spending 6 hours in a car. I was driving 3 hours each way. So I was going to Bridgewater and New Providence daily. And one day, my friend, we always talk in the morning, he calls and we're talking, and he said, yo, how much time do you actually spend in a car? Like, have you tracked it? I said, nah, man, I just go to work and do what I got to do. So we did the math, and it came out that I spent, out of a calendar year, an entire month in my car.
Oh my God, that's so much.
And yeah, it was a lot, right? Because when you do 6 hours a day times 5, that's 30 hours a week.
It's pretty much a full-time job just being in your
right.
car.
And then that's not only, besides the drive, then I have to go work as well.
And that's doing pharmaceuticals.
In pharmaceuticals. And I didn't hold a low-level job, like a low tier. I was associate director when I was towards the back end of the career in that. So, I would always leave early. So kids were sleeping when I left, because I would leave like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, just try to beat some of the traffic.
Sure.
And then long days, 10, 12, 14-hour days sometimes. And then I would come home and I'd leave the office late to try to miss some of the traffic, but by the time I get home, the kids were asleep. And I won't forget this. My son comes up to me one day as I'm leaving, because I was leaving a little late for some reason. And he grabs my leg and he says, Dad, am I going to see you today? So I laughed and I said, yeah, of course you are. Like, I'm home every day. So I get out the door and I'm leaving, and then it starts dawning on me, like, I see why he asked that question. Because while, yes, I am an everyday dad, I come home and I see the kids, or I see the kids.
Right.
I really don't see them until the weekend. And that really started the snowball effect in February of 2018. And I'm a big risk taker, and I go out on the ledge, and I'll jump and I'll do things. But the decision to leave that job haunted my spirit for 5 months. Like I just, because I was the only one working. We had made a decision that my wife would come home because I was driving so far.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to have babysitters and stuff. So, and I was, making high 6 figures. And so that took me 5 months to pray through, to work through. And July of 2018, I just went into my boss's office and I said, "Yeah, I'm leaving." And then I gave them 2 weeks. They asked me for a month because they just needed some more onboarding time.
Yeah.
But that was the reason why I got into real estate, because I had the niche from earlier on, and then I just said, "Hey, I'm not gonna live this life with regrets." I didn't know if it was gonna work out.
Right.
I really did not know.
Yeah.
But I was willing to take a risk, and I went all in.
You left on good terms, so you could always reverse back
Absolutely, yeah.
if you needed to.
Every place that I've left on good terms for potential job
Don't
growth.
burn any bridges.
Correct. I didn't burn any bridges when I left. It wasn't like I slammed the door on him or anything like that.
Right. Okay.
I left respectfully and politely, but it was an endeavor that I wanted to take on for sure.
Yeah. So before you left, though, what did you do? Did you do real estate part time, or you just said, you know what, I'm gonna do real estate and just jumped in?
So I had gotten my real estate license in 2017.
Okay.
So about several months prior to me leaving. And I did that. I did a deal or two here and there. I didn't really like it. I didn't like the retail real estate side, like showing
being a
people
realtor,
around.
right.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Okay.
And I had actually, what confirmed it for me is I was doing a deal. So I had a buyer with my license side.
Sure.
They were pre-approved. They bought a house for $330,000, and I tracked this. I tracked the hours. I spent 96 hours showing them houses. Okay,
Just showing houses?
Just showing houses. They were a buyer.
It is 17.
This was in 18. Okay, so I'm showing them houses. I spent 96 hours total, and I made my commission after office splits and everything was $3,300. And then I hadn't even paid taxes or anything.
Right.
So in the same time, I started working on lead gen for going direct to seller.
Yes.
And I got a deal, and I spent 5 hours on it, and I made $3,200. I said,
Wholesaling. Wholesaling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it wholesale?
Yeah. And I will never, ever since then, I've never touched that side unless it's for my own family. Like, they need my help, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not family or very close friend, I don't do.
So you
the
renew
religious-
your license every year?
I renew it, yeah.
And everything?
I have it. I keep it. I renew it. But I'm just not as active on that side as I used to be before.
Sure.
Yeah. But that was a big game changer. Once I learned how to go direct to seller and figure those nuances out, that really helped develop speaking with people. Mm-hmm. Learning sales techniques, learning how to solve problems, right? Like, as much as we want to make money and be in real estate investing, it's important that you lead with the concept of serving and helping that person on the other side. Like, because that's where you really make the money. It's that you have the ability to, whatever they're going through, to solve the problem. Like, when I meet with homeowners, one of the first things they ask me, like, well, Amit, what do you want? I was like, it doesn't matter what I want. What matters is the only way I get anything is if I solve this problem for you. So I need to understand from you, what do you need solved? And what that also helps do is it breaks down barriers, right? Now they start opening up, having conversation with you. They start communicating what's really going on versus just the facade that they're putting up to try to kind of protect themselves. But when you really lead with a heart of giving, you'll be amazed how many doors will open up and how many more deals you'll do.
Yeah.
We just saw a post about, going in with a solving the problem attitude first, and trying to sell someone on something like that.
Absolutely, man. Like, you have to lead with that, and that for me, that stems from my faith, right, in Christ. Like, that is one of the focal points of my, I guess you want to say, sales person side of it, right? I don't really. There's deals that I've done that I wasn't the right fit for that solution.
Sure.
However, I still got them to the finish line, right? I tell all my clients, prospective sellers, I give them this definition. I say, if you hold my hand, I'll get you to the finish line. If you let go of my hand, you're taking your own uncharted path, And if you decide to come back, I don't know what damage you may have done. So just hold my hand and I'll walk you to the finish line. And even if it's not me, there will be somebody waiting at the finish line to finish this process out for you.
Yeah.
In solving what it is that you need solved. So that's been really a big for me in terms of working with different types of clients and really just kind of putting that mantra forward. Yeah, absolutely.
So you got into wholesaling and that pivoted you to what? What was the next step?
Yeah, so I don't do a lot of wholesaling, just to be very transparent. I've done a few wholesale
But that
deals.
was your
So
entry
here's what
into
happened.
real estate.
So a lot of people, before I answer that, I want to touch on something. A lot of people struggle with finding deals.
Yes.
They don't know what market or what list and what platform to go get a list, like ListSource and PropStream and all that.
It's the black curtain effect. You don't know what's behind it. You don't know how to get back there.
Right, but here's the thing. The question that everyone should ask themselves is this. Before you hit purchase on one of these websites, ask yourself, where did they go get the data? They had to have gotten the data. They didn't just make up a foreclosure list
Talking
by
about
themselves.
being a disruptor.
Right? So you ask yourself that question. So when I started asking myself that question more and more, different doors started opening up. I started meeting with people who really understood public records, right? So I do a lot of my niche hunting through public records. So a favorite list of mine is tax delinquents. But if you notice, a lot of people get tax delinquents through newspaper clippings, like, they post them. Yeah. But I'll give you a little gem, okay? So there's a little strategy.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, this is how you do
I'm
this,
waiting
right?
for that.
So I don't touch tax delinquents. I touch tax liens. So the person who's tax delinquent, let's say you're behind and you didn't pay your taxes, and the tax sale is going to happen, let's say today, it's November 14th. Now, let's say it's a list of 100. 50 people might go and pay their taxes off. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've been marketing to these 100 people, well, 50% just got cut in half because they paid their taxes off. There's no longer a potential for a lien against their house. But the other 50 who did not pay and their tax delinquency got sold, which now creates a tax certificate, a tax lien, those certificates get recorded in public records. So now what you do is you go to your public record. What county are we in right now?
This is Bergen County.
So go to Bergen County Public Records. And then you can filter in Bergen County Public Records for tax liens. When you filter for tax liens, what you can do is most counties, what they do is they scan the PDF like an image. They don't scan it actually as the document. So it's hard to extract the information out. But if you use a Google Chrome extension called OCR, the OCR will scrape out the necessary information that you highlight, and you can convert it over to an Excel sheet. Now, when you convert it over to an Excel sheet, you can obviously you can skip trace it and get their contact information. You can
Of the
call
lien
them.
holder.
Yep, you can call them directly. You can send out mailers. So that opens up a lot of different avenues for you. But let's talk about the heart of that process. It's the data. If you take that same data and you search that property in PropStream, I guarantee you it won't show up as tax delinquent.
It's not there yet. It's
It's
like
not
3,
there
4
yet.
months behind.
Bingo, she got it. I've done deals where I've educated the homeowners and told them, hey, in the next coming weeks, you're probably going to start getting mailers. And when you get those mailers, I want you to come give them to me. I want you to drop them off to me. You don't have to call them because obviously I'm working with you. And I tracked this data. I would be about 60% in my project of renovation by the time the homeowners were starting to get the mailers from these investors.
Right.
So this is how time is of the essence, right?
Yes.
So this is how you beat the competition. Go learn public records and you will have a surplus of prospects that you can't even count on. Like you will have an abundance of prospects. Now I call them prospects. I don't call them leads. I call them prospects because to me, a lead is someone I've engaged with and they've shown interest. Other people will just say this is a lead. I've kind of segregated that in my business to help me really narrow in on who's where in the process. So a prospect for me is when I go to the public records and I generate that list, those are prospects, someone I have not touched with, and they haven't been converted over to someone who's likely to work with me. But again, public record, I get tax liens, foreclosures.
Are you going to the sheriff's websites? and
That's for
scraping?
foreclosures. You can go there.
You're scraping through there as well?
Absolutely, you can scrape through there.
Writing this down?
So
I'm gonna rewatch this.
So for foreclosures, I'll give you another gem. All right? I'm telling you right now, you better have a hell of a lot of views for this shit that I'm about to give you.
We're going to
guys.
post it.
So for foreclosures, I do it differently. What do most people do? Who do they attack when it's foreclosures?
The people going to auction.
Going to auction. Okay?
List pendants and
Those are people that have not had the auction take place yet, correct?
right.
Okay. What's the right of redemption in New Jersey?
10 days.
Okay. What do you think I do?
Call those people.
I go after the people whose property is sold because the right of redemption is 10 days. So now I know that this went to auction. It got sold. I know how much it got sold for. I know that if it's less than the taxed assessed value that it got sold for, because what is the tax assessed value? It's always less than the market value,
Right.
almost by 20 to 25% less at times. So I know, okay, if this got sold less than the tax assessed value, and let's say there's a gap between, let's say a property got sold for 100K, tax assessed value is 150. I've got that buffer. So now I know it got sold. I have 10 days right of redemption. I'll offer the homeowner 110,000. Now, when you take this in front and present it to a judge, is the judge going to side with the homeowner because they're going to make 10,000 more, or with the investor?
The homeowner.
There you go. You still, you just narrowed down all of that marketing of pre-foreclosures to the real heart of who really is going to get sold.
So are you working directly with the buyers to keep them in the house, or you're?
So now that's where we create solutions,
Okay.
right? So the way you create
See,
solutions.
I'm good.
Yeah. So
Problem
the way you create solutions is this. Now, let's say the person does want to stay in the house. You're buying this property so heavily discounted that I've already factored in a potential eviction cost. So I know, like, if I even have to evict them, let's say it takes 6 months in New Jersey, right? For me, down where I'm at in South Jersey, we're averaging about 90 days from what my attorney gives me.
That about right, Jerry?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more up
I know
here.
he's had
because-
some issues down there.
Yeah.
but I know
Not the
sometimes
same counties, but
yeah, but North Jersey, I know because the rent control sometimes is a lot stronger and stringent.
Oh, rent control, you're not getting them out.
Exactly.
At
So
all.
for us down south in South Jersey, we don't deal as much with rent control as you guys do up here in North Jersey. So we work out scenarios where if that it's already in the underwritten numbers of if that's the worst case scenario for us. So we'll go through it, and then if they get out, then we'll flip the project and sell it. And here's the other kicker to this, right? Most people who are getting foreclosed, they're not trashing their own house before they get foreclosed, because they're really trying to work on trying to stay in the house. So not only are you getting to the meat real fast, to the true source of the leads, you're getting a good quality home because these homeowners have been taking care of it.
For
Dude,
the
you're
most
making
part.
me not want to target low equity and pre-foreclosure people who
So-
have no equity now.
So there's two trains of thoughts that you have to think about, right? Now, I'll be very honest with you guys. What I do is hard to scale. I'm just very honest, right? Because it's hard to scale, because if you don't understand public records, you're not going to be able to navigate it. Think of public records ultimately as title company. Where do title companies go? They go to the public records and they dig everything up. Before I even call you, I've got your history done. I know how many times there was a tax lien. I know what year you were in foreclosure if possible. I know if somebody in your family passed away. I know if you're widowed. I've done all my homework.
Especially in Bergen County, I've done some digging in that site before. anything attached to that house is kept in that public record. Doesn't have to be real estate related.
Yeah.
Credit card,
Exactly.
balance, whatever. You know, if you fall behind on a car note, whatever. If it's connected to that address, they upload it into their site. I know that's Bergen County.
I think that's just about every county. It just like depends on where you're looking. Because I've done this stuff in Louisiana and Alabama too. It's just like you have to look in different places.
Yes.
The systems are a little different, and it's just like at a
And
certain
the credit
point,
card defaults and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They
anything
roll
tied
that.
to the address,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's still like your debt and your liens.
But who would think that that sort of record would be kept?
You actually
Yeah.
find it for the previous owners too.
Oh wow.
I've had to do that for a previous
Yeah.
owner because I
more
couldn't
time.
find them on their new
You have more
address.
time on your hands.
So
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so when it comes to the public record side, if you start really digging into this, you'll start. You know how you stack lists: vacant, absentee, deceased. This is the type of information that will come out. Did you know that you can email the surrogate's office for a specific property or owner and get their will? They'll email it to you because it's public records.
Yeah.
They just don't have that public where you can access it from your home, from your computer.
But they have it on file.
They
from
have
the
it on
office.
file, and they'll share that information. So
Now-
go ahead.
Now, are you getting that info through Oprah? You're asking them through an Oprah report, or you're just going
What's an
down to the
Oprah?
actual courthouse?
So the first thing I do is I email the surrogate's office directly.
Okay.
If they say submit an Oprah, then I will.
Okay.
But what happens?
What's an Oprah?
Open Public Records Act or
Act,
something.
yeah. So
Correct.
it's when you want public information. See, all public information is technically available.
It's just not necessarily online. So you basically
Exactly.
just have to write a request to sign off on it. Hey, I'm a real person. I'm requesting this information. They sometimes ask you for why, but like it doesn't really matter. It's just write something because it's all public info.
The why doesn't matter
Yeah.
because the reason is it's public. You remember those county officials are working for us. We're not working for them. Our tax dollars pays their salary.
Yep.
And that information is technically public. So if you submit an Oprah request and they come back to you and say, oh, we don't house that data, it means that you didn't word the request properly.
Correct.
Yeah.
So go back and reword that request properly. And if they come back to you and say the same thing again, reword it until
That's
you
what
get that information.
ChatGPT is for.
You can use it.
You
I haven't
could do
used it
that.
for that yet because I've figured out like how to ask, make the request.
You've done it long enough. yeah.
Exactly. So, but don't quit. If you're submitting Oprah requests and they're coming back and saying they don't have this information, keep asking them. Like I'm asking one of the counties, the municipalities, for code enforcement.
Yeah.
So I asked them. I said,
Yeah.
"Can
I
you
did too.
give me a list of all the properties that have code enforcement?" They said, "Well, we don't house it electronically. We just have files." And I said this to them directly. You mean to tell me in 2023 that the only records you keep is a manila folder in your office to track code enforcement? I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. And I pushed back and I pushed back. I'm still pushing back. I haven't gotten the list, but I'm not going to stop until they give me the list. I even told them, because they said, well, we don't have the manpower to devote to that. I was like, I'll send my team in there to scour and get that information. Will you be okay with that?
So I actually used to target code violations, so I can actually
Mm-hmm.
vouch for this. At the end, when I like the first few Oprahs, they just got sent back to me, and then I just started writing so much and like very detailed. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, pull exactly this, and it like went on the back of the page and everything because I was handwriting these, and it would take a couple of days because actually legally they have a certain time frame within
Yes.
which they have to give it to you.
I think
as
it's
well.
30 days or 20 or
No,
30
it's
days.
less. I think it's like
less?
2 weeks. It's a
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's more than a few days, but like they do have to get it to you. So
Correct.
they do have to
They
devote
have
that
to.
manpower.
Yeah, they have to answer you
Yes.
basically.
They
The-
do.
a
And then
response.
it's like, and I was doing this back in Sussex County. I remember like one day I like just drove around the entire county and I just started pulling them. And a lot of them had the paper copies of it, especially these smaller townships like Lafayette Township. And they just scanned those things and they just sent those to me at a certain point. And I'm like, but they're still supposed to send it to you, even if they don't have it digitally. Like
Correct.
you'll have to read people's handwritings, but it exists. But
Yes.
it's also like,
Yeah.
who's going to go out of their way to do this? But then I stopped going out of my way to do this.
Yeah,
I literally just pulled the whole request in less than 5
There
seconds
you
on
go.
ChatGPT.
So try it with that, submit it, and then see what
No,
response
I'm
you
saying
get.
for the audience because a lot of people, the reason why they're hesitant to get started, I don't know where to get started. I just literally did it on ChatGPT, exactly what you just said, in less than 5
so,
seconds.
So this public records process is if you have time on your side and you just don't have the money. And when you're starting off, most people when they're starting off, they just don't have the cash to go just buy these chunks of list and just do all this massive marketing, right? Do you know that my best marketing platform is my cell phone? Like I store people in my contacts like Joey, address, Harrison Ave, Garfield.
And then whatever notes you have about their properties. I do exactly the same thing in my open phone app.
Now, here's the reason. Now, because remember, you're not calling 1,000 people from your cell phone. The list that I'm talking to you about is so narrowed that if you get a list of 30 prospects, I can guarantee you're going to get at least 1 to 2 deals out of that. My average rate was 1 deal per 20 contacts when I'm doing public records.
Yeah.
And the way you do this is you call them once, they're not going to answer. Call them again right away, and then leave a voicemail to them. But you're not going to leave a voicemail that you're going to blurb everything out. Just leave a generic voicemail to get them to call you back. And once you hang up and leave that voicemail, text them right away. And then they say the response is if you send anywhere between 3 to 5 text messages, even without them responding, back to back to back to back, eventually they're gonna look at their phone because why?
It's so much ringing, so much noise, everything. What do you text them?
Hey, this is Amit. How
Call
you
me.
doing? I just called you. I left you a voicemail. Did you get a chance to read it or listen to it?
Yeah, because like I have my VAs.
You just keep texting, and you get when you do it that way. Like I'm averaging a 75% response rate.
That's actually really good.
Yeah,
That's almost
this is
unheard of.
for
Like, that's
tax
really-
liens,
any
tax liens,
list,
foreclosures.
any list, because why and I call. So now here's where a lot of people might make a mistake or give up too early. When you skip trace, usually you get multiple numbers. It's not just one number. They usually have like high confidence, this is the number, right? Sometimes that number doesn't work. I call every single number for that contact. I don't move to the next contact until I've called every single number. Yep. And I know like the thought is easy. The hard part is the execution. Like if you can become consistent to the point where you only touch 5 people a day, like reach out to 5 people a day, by the end of the week, you've done 25 reach outs. And if you do that over a month, that's 100. You're telling me there's not a deal sitting in there?
And
I guarantee
follow-up.
There you go.
And then the follow-ups.
So
It's funny, like you're mentioning the 15, like the whole bunch of people. I remember last week I was filling in for my VAs because I tell them call every single number, leave a voicemail, leave a text, do all this. I'm like, for like some of the lists I care about a little bit less, but like the targeted list, because I do list stacking, I have them call all the numbers. And I actually like after that day, I text them like, guys, like I don't say this enough, but I really do appreciate you guys because like the first person had 15 numbers and I'm here like calling all the 15 numbers and I'm like leaving a voicemail for all the 15 numbers, shooting a text for all the 15 numbers.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the thing, like people's numbers change, and like when you're skip tracing people, it's essentially public record. Like what do they have on this person? And if you're really doing this by hand, I know I did kind of do this when I started. I don't really do this now, but if you're finding people through True People Search, possible relatives show up.
Yes.
You can start calling those people and being like, hey, do you know who lives here?
So I'm so glad you brought that up. So when I use True People Search here and there. I use it to teach, because a lot of people when they're starting out, they just don't have the financial means to just go spend the money. Me personally, I use IDI data. It's been very good for me. And I do them one-offs. So I pay for, I think I get 250 skips a month, and I pay like $120 or something a month.
I think I know the one you're talking about. I don't use that one, but I pay for skip tracing too.
So what the real neat thing about IDI data is, when you skip trace a person, it also has all its relatives, just like True People Search.
I use Free People Search.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the same thing. True people search.
So I
and True
use
People
that.
Search,
I
like, the same.
use IDI data and I piggyback it with bin verified. Those are like my two. If I can't get it on IDI or if I need some more additional information, I go to bin verified. Now bin verified is cheaper. I think it's like $50 for the whole year or something like that. But it's good data.
Yeah, and then it's like, for example, like you get Joey Chan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like you'll see someone with a female name with a very similar age to Joey, and you're like, that might be the spouse. Then you start calling them, and then like that's when you
Yes.
sometimes like I would actually get responses from people doing it this way. It's like match up who you think is probably the children, match up who you think is probably the spouse, like. Because it shows you how old the person is
Yep.
when you pull up their profile, and
Yeah.
you're like, you're able to start kind of like making sense of it. But like, unfortunately, like right now, I'm trying to scale with VA, so I don't teach my VA students because it gets complicated.
It is. That's the
But
thing.
that's why, like, yeah. But once you're doing it that way, you're like combing through all these people,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually trying to do this with the list. I stacked a list so much that all of New Jersey has 10 results for the entire state.
Wow.
So it's like for those people, I'm doing it, but like for
Okay.
most of my list, not really. And it's effective.
So to add on to this niche list concept, especially through public records, a lot of the data companies, what they do is they triangulate data points. And the way they triangulate data points is by guesstimation, right? They may, if they know this person, I'll just take myself. I'm Indian, right? I'm 39 years old. Let's say if I were to pass away, right, tomorrow morning.
Let's hope not.
Obviously, I hope not. But I'm just saying, right? If I were to, right, in the obituary, do you know how the obituary would be written? Let's say my wife is alive.
I personally don't.
Okay, so let
I
me
stay
tell
away
you.
from probates as much as
No,
possible.
no, I'm gonna
traumatized by them from when I started.
I'm gonna show you how to triangulate this data. So if I were to pass away, my wife it survives me. It would say Amit Darji, survived by, my wife's name is Yaya. She would go first. Then how are the children listed?
In age order, right?
Correct. So let's just assume, I had a child at a very early age, and my son is an adult. Do you know culturally who would become the decision maker?
Your son, right?
Bingo.
The
Culturally.
oldest.
The oldest.
My oldest.
Your
'cause he's the
oldest son.
He's
Yeah.
my son.
So even if you have like
If it
an
was my
older daughter,
oldest daughter,
it would
my
be the
wife,
son.
yeah.
It would be the wife.
No, so if it's my wife, and let's say my son is the second oldest,
Yeah.
and one of my daughters is the oldest, my wife would become the decision maker because my son is not in the true heirship position for
wow.
decision making.
Wow.
This is more culturally stuff,
Yeah.
right? But the point I'm trying to make is, for example, this tax liens list. So let's say I compile a list of 10. Now the next step, what I do is this. I would go, let's say I'm on the tax lien. I go to Google and look up Amit Darji obituary, New Jersey. I want to see if this person was deceased. And what happens is, I live in Sicklerville, New Jersey, right? Now this is where you got to start putting your thinking cap on. If you search me, Amit Darji obituary, New Jersey, and something pops up and it says Sicklerville, New Jersey, there's a good probability that this person and this address is probably together. So now that goes out of the list of 10 prospects that I have, that goes to my priority of first contacts because there's a higher probability that this person is deceased. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what their family tree is, and these are the people that I need to reach out to. So when I skip trace True People Search,
You see
the
who's
family
popping up.
names, you know the order of people that you need to contact. That now increases your likelihood and ability to get to that deal a lot quicker than anybody else.
You'd be surprised how much information. My wife and I were looking at a for sale by owner about a year ago. The house was had a for sale by owner sign for a while up by Inglewood. And we started skip tracing it, just trying to find. The phone number was listed there, but they wouldn't pick up the phone. And we just kept researching. Come to find out, the husband had gone to jail for trying to murder the wife some years
That's
ago.
great.
Jeez.
Yeah, so you'd be amazed how much public information is on if you're like into NCI, these type of shows. This is this is the avenue for you.
It's really creepy. Like sometimes people ask me like, "What do you do for a living?" I'm like I essentially professionally stalk people. Like that's literally what it
No, I
is.
talk to
Like,
people.
Yeah,
I talk to people.
That's what we're doing.
like last week we had the lenders nerding out. Now we're having the wholesalers. But it's so true. Like essentially, like it's kind of creepy because it's like, like I started dating guys for a while, for example, and it's like they start realizing what I do. I'm like, I promise I don't do this for you guys. Like I just do this for a living. Like I don't do this to you guys. But I always can if I think you're lying to me. But it's true. You get so good at stalking people, and it's like people don't realize how much of your information is made public, and it's not even through fault of your own. We're just living in such a digital age that everything's just so tied to you. Like unless you're literally living off the grid, don't have credit cards, don't have debit cards, I don't even know. There's gonna be something on you.
100%. Like one of the things that I use IDI data for the person you skip trace. For those of you who don't know what skip trace is, skip tracing is essentially you get the person's general information, first
Third
name,
hand.
last name, maybe you have a property address, and you look up their personal information essentially, such as their phone number or email.
But
right?
again, third hand. Because
hand.
the way you're doing it first hand. You're going
Yes.
out and skipping. Like I love disruptors. You're
Yeah.
skipping the middleman and you're going right to the public
Correct.
records yourself.
Yep.
Because if I skip trace a zip code and she skips, we're calling the same list. What you're doing is a lot different because you're going directly to where the records are getting pulled from.
So you talked about pre-foreclosures and stuff like that, right? List pendants. Once you pull that list, do you know what to do with it next?
Pass it off to a VA and stick it
That's
into a
fine.
dialer.
One of the
You got to
things.
figure out where they are in the process, especially in Jersey, because the
Find a
property might
solution.
very well be upside down. That's like one thing. People,
You want me to tell you how you know exactly where they're at? Take that. If you go to public records and you pull up list pendants, list pendant means it's filed in court, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's filed in court, what number is assigned?
the case ID number,
docket number.
that one, yeah.
You just Google it because I don't know the URL off the top of my head. Go to Google and look up New Jersey foreclosure docket search. Now take that docket number and go put it in that URL or that link, the New Jersey foreclosure docket search. It will give you the entire history of what's going on in that foreclosure proceedings. And the plaintiff, who is the bank, has given a tally of all the exact financial numbers.
And how many times they've reached out and all
Bingo.
this. Because it's also the bank doesn't want to foreclose either.
And
You
what
can
else is
pull
done?
that from a website?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's public records. Now check this
Again,
out.
it's really creepy how much you find
check-
about people.
Now what legal responsibility does the attorney have?
To act in the interests of their client. Best
But he
interest
has
of
to
the client.
serve them. And you have to provide certification of mailing. So when you provide to the court a certification of mailing of the list pendants of the foreclosure suit, they are verifying their home address of the owner and any other contact information that the attorney has put in there.
The attorney on the bank side?
The bank side.
Okay.
Right.
I have a question. So if you go to PropStream and there's a foreclosure, right? Because if you go to PropStream and there isn't a foreclosure, there won't be a tab that says foreclosure, right? So you click on the tab and there's always an attorney number. Is that the attorney for the bank?
It likely is.
Okay.
Also, I want to just save people money. On PropStream, whether you're looking up list pendants or pre-foreclosures, and there's a docket that you have to purchase for $5,
You get that for free.
take that docket number and just go search it and it's free. You'll get the whole trail.
Yeah.
Stop, don't waste money there.
Don't spend the $5.
Exactly. Thank you.
Love PropStream. They've helped me out in the past. But
Also, guys, like PropWire is pretty much PropStream, but free.
Okay, I didn't know PropWire.
It's like slightly less good than PropStream, like, but it's free. The only thing you have to pay for is skip tracing, which we just told you guys how to do this. Should people
For
search
free.
it, like,
Yes.
or free people search,
Yeah, free people search.
and you basically get what people pay for.
Whitepages.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used all
Yes.
4 or 5 of these.
Facebook,
Yeah,
Twitter,
definitely.
Instagram.
Scour the social media.
I've gotten hold of contacts through Facebook. I would just direct message. I would friend request them and direct message them.
I've
Bang.
heard that one before.
LinkedIn. So if you know you got a really good lead, like this will work more when you're in buying like maybe apartment deals, but not like, Blackstone's buying them.
Yeah.
But like 10 unit, 15 unit, they're usually more professional people. You go on LinkedIn, just get like the sales navigator, the premier account, the trial account, and you can do 50 in-mails, and you don't need to be connected to them to send a message. So just set, and in that message is let them know like, hey, I'm trying to, I see that you're the owner of such and such. I'd love to have an opportunity to work with you to see if you'd be interested in selling. Boom, send the message. And they'll respond back because it's professional to professional. So that's another little hack that I'll tell you, I love scouring public records and working through it because, it's again, it goes
It's like
back
a puzzle.
Yeah.
Piecing a puzzle together.
One time I had to get Ancestry.com and I had to build a family tree. And I had to go 15 layers deep to figure out who the real owner of that property is. Because when you have
Was this a probate? Yeah.
Yeah, mom passed away, dad passed away, grandparents or their parents are deceased.
And then
right?
it's very questionable who actually owns the
Yeah.
property. See, probates are traumatizing.
But there's a lot. If you get
because
to
no one does them. Like
there's a
people
property-
start with them, but then it's so hard to stick it out. Like if
There's
you
a
crack
property in my neighborhood
probates,
that I've tried to contact the owner, but all there is a P.O. box number. And the house has been abandoned since I've lived in my neighborhood. So that's been over 6-7 years now.
Shoot,
And
listen,
that just gave me some great ideas.
I'll do this podcast a favor. You and I will hop on a Zoom,
Okay.
and I will walk you through and find the person for you.
I'll go right to the property. We'll do the Zoom right in front of the property.
Absolutely.
We'll post it. We'll post it for everyone.
I will find that
Is that
person.
okay if we post it?
Yeah, you do what
That'll
you
be
want.
great.
It's for you. 100%. So, again,
We're going on a camping trip, guys.
yeah. Listen, I told them when I came on, like whatever the community needs, where they need to be served, like they can help the most. I'm here for it. Like this is how I've gotten started. I did the whole listing and all that, and I couldn't. I was spending so much money on trying to market,
Right.
and I just was blowing dollars. And then I started really narrowing down. I got a mentor, and I started narrowing down, and I started learning the public records. And once you get it, you get it. And you can do this in any state, any county, any municipality. If there's a public record that exists, which in the United States of America,
Yeah.
every state does, you can pull lists from anywhere. Literally. That's why they say, like, you can take everything away, but you can't take the knowledge away.
Yeah.
And once you have that built in, you'll go do deals anywhere you want.
yeah, and like I've done this. I started off doing this in Jersey, like the code violations, whatever, like Oprah's and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've done this in Alabama. Like I know in Alabama sometimes you got to pay a couple cents because like it's free, but like there's like a filing fee or something. And it's like you pay like $1 for like the entire history of this person. Just pay the couple of cents.
Yep.
And you will like, I think the last one I pulled, I got like 23 pages about the owner for like $1.15.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's
like,
crazy
it's a
so
lot.
much how much information is out there that you can access, look up. Another great spot that you can check up information is pacer.gov. How many of you guys use that?
Is that the post
I don't know
office?
this one.
I've never heard.
So pacer.gov will give you all the bankruptcy details. Also, you can look up criminal cases and stuff too. So like if there's proceedings going on, like if somebody filed a bankruptcy, that's usually filed in your county's public records, but you don't know the ins and outs of it. So what you do is you take that information, you go to pacer.gov and you plug that in, and you'll get every single piece of document that's related to that bankruptcy case.
For free.
Yeah.
Because it's public
Oh,
record.
no, not
Or like a
Pacer-
couple of cents or
Yeah,
yeah.
pacer.gov is, I believe it's 10 cents per document that you want to pull or something. Don't hold
A
my
lot
fist
of
to the
these
fire.
free,
things,
but
like
they've
they're
compiled it
free,
for
but
you.
like
Yes.
they have to like compile it,
government,
so
it's
they're
government.
charging you like it's kind of like you go to like make a copy, like it's the same thing. It's like 10-15 cents per page because they're pretty
What's a
much
copy?
pulling.
What are these ancient terms you're talking about?
I'm like the young one here, and I know what a copy is.
Yeah, but that's another great source to take a look at. Remember overall goal. The more information you have, the better solutions you can create. There are honestly solutions that homeowner is not even aware of,
Right.
because they just don't have access to this type of information, and they're unfortunately in a state of mind where they need help, right? Not help like psychologically, but they just need your help to help them get to the finish line. And the more information you can gather and put together, the better you'll be able to serve them. And you know, that it goes a long way, especially in building trust with potential prospects, right? Leads. But yeah, no, public record's been dynamite. Public records, you can raise capital through public records.
We've said this before. What the audience needs to realize, right? We've said the adage before, right? Your net worth is your network, right? So you're getting all this free information. You don't have to sign up for courses for $100. Just give me your email for my free ebook, my mastermind, my home
This
buying
is your
tool.
mastermind right here
This
on
is
how to
one-
like stalk people.
It's great to have a mentor, right? There's a lot of mentors out there that could provide great information. They
Yep.
come with the course because they've done the research and they've been through the trenches for 20 plus odd years, right? Those guys are great, but you're getting so much free information right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is
This is the quietest I've seen Joey in weeks.
yeah. I'm just listening. You know, I'm just listening, absorbing all the information. I know a lot of the info. You know, especially like
fresher.
yeah, exactly. Like earlier on, you know, Amit was talking about, you know, the redemption, and the reason why I know the 10-day redemption is because, you know, I've done those, you know, in the past, right? But do we do them now? We don't. So, you know, these kind of things.
You grow and you scale.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Again, I just want to be very transparent. Like she even expressed it. It's hard to relay this in-depth information to a VA that they can scour and do this. It is a skill set and something that you have to pick up. But listen, the reality is this. If you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, what's the goal? To scale and grow your business. If you can do a few deals like this that gets you 30, 40, 50,000 a clip, you're starting to head towards the point where you can start hiring.
Yeah.
And then you can cast that wider net. Right now, what you're really playing toss up between is time and money. If you got time and don't have the money, go deep.
Yeah.
If you've got the money, don't have the time, scale
wide.
quick. Like,
Yeah.
go for it.
And honestly, like, I mean, I'm like anyone who's new to wholesaling, I always tell them this, like, everyone rushes to get VAs. Like, don't do that. Like, you really need to learn how to do this by hand, because like recently, like Joey and Joe know this, like the list I've been targeting for like, since I pretty much started this, like they stopped working. So now I have to adjust what I'm doing. Like I have to adjust my strategy, and I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't do this before by hand, because I'm tailoring my VA's approaches based on experience. Like it's pretty much the point that everything's a script, and like if they reply A, reply B. If they reply D, reply E. Like it's to this extent, but that's because I've done it. I've done every part of it. I've done the cold calling part of it. Like I will never have my VAs do something I have not done.
Yeah.
Like I have done the stalking people. I have done finding their neighbors to figure out who lives at this property. Like to that extent, like, cause it's 1 Main Street. Well, next door is 3 Main Street. They probably know the owner of 1 Main Street. Like I've done all this, and it's a huge pain in the ass, but like VAs don't do this.
Correct.
It's very hard to explain to the VA, hey, maybe find the spouse, maybe find the brother, sister, maybe find the relative, maybe find the neighbor. It's very hard to do this and really understand how to tweak, how to adjust if you haven't done the entire process yourself. And then you could start subbing it out, specific parts.
Yeah.
And it is a lot.
There's only so many Kobe Bryants and LeBron James because you just skipped college.
Right.
You go right to
you got
right to the majors.
You got to put the work in, and once you start putting that work in, as you're doing these things, and this is something that I wish if I were to start over, I wish I would have done from the beginning. As you're doing this stuff, document it. If you like to write down and document everything. If you don't like to write and don't want to be in front of a camera, record it. One way or another, whatever you're doing, document it so that when you get to the point of being able to bring on VAs, it's already documented, and that VA can now refine that process and distill the most important information. And now with ChatGPT, if you upload your video, this whatever you've recorded, and just make it private, and then you get it's a ChatGPT.
It's an extension?
Chrome extension. And you tell it, hey, distill out the most important information. It'll give you the entire transcript of the most important information. And then there's your SOP. There you go. Standard operating procedure written, done, and you don't have to go spend hours and hours on it.
Right.
You know,
But document
a lot of
everything
lenders
that
are doing that as
Yeah.
well.
Document everything that you're doing. So it'll make your life a lot easier when you're trying and aiming to scale up. 100%.
With regards to privacy and things like that, and just to switch it to my side for a second, I think we've talked about this as well. With if you're looking to buy a home and you're filling out an application and they're obviously going to check your credit, please make sure you ask them specifically, are they doing it as a soft credit check initially? Because your information will be sold out to hundreds and thousands of different websites, and you're going to get hundreds of different phone calls of people saying they're working alongside with that bank and they're calling to follow up and see how they can help you. That's it.
So actually, I'm not going to go off.
They're called trigger
I'm not
leads.
going to go off on a tangent here, Joe, but I actually work on personal and business credit. So I help people, because what I realized is a lot of people struggle with their financial space, especially their credit.
Financial literacy.
Right. And so everything that Joe just said is 100% accurate. They take your data and then just share it. They just sell
It's
it.
not the bank, sorry, right?
No, it's not the bank.
It's the credit bureaus.
It's called the data furnishers.
Yeah, they're literally making money selling your inquiry.
Yep. That's what the 3 credit bureaus do. They take your information. They're in a data business. They're not in a credit monitoring business.
They could care less what
Exactly.
you do with your credit.
Exactly. They're just that's why people with low
gatherers
credit.
of information.
That's why people with low credit still get credit card offers.
Yep.
Because they
Subprime.
know what demographic or what product fits your current circumstance. So, yeah, I don't. That's a whole other. That's a whole other thing, man. We can spend hours on talking about. But.
Yeah, all my clients, I have a whole speech with them at the closing, and one of the things I tell them, you're going to get a few letters in the mail that they work with so and so bank, and they're going to say they worked with my bank. You'll see my bank's information on there. Please call me first and read the letter back to me.
100%. 100%. What else? What are some common questions that you guys have been getting?
What else are you doing besides being the master of the universe of,
Yeah.
Of like stalking people.
I mean, so right now,
professional conversationalist?
so what I'm working on now in the business is scaling. Okay, so I don't come from a background where I have people that I can follow who've had businesses. So has not been an easy journey, and anybody that tells you it's going to be easy is lying to you.
Absolutely.
It's hard, it's difficult, it's rewarding, but if you don't have the fortitude or the ability to sustain through difficult times, and you know that about yourself, don't get into it, because you're going to hurt yourself and you're going to hurt your family.
Just get a nice 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, there's
drive
nothing wrong with it.
30 hours a month.
Well, I'm not saying don't drive 30 hours.
I mean,
In
the
that
high
case,
6
quit.
figures.
Yeah.
And no,
make
if you're
it worth
making in the high
it.
6 figures, it might be worth it to you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you don't have family, so
There you go.
know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or maybe your kids are older and you don't mind.
And you're sharing an apartment in Manhattan with 5 other roommates.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the rent's $6,500 for a 2-bedroom.
But yeah, I would love to hear about how, Amit is scaling, because that's something I'm trying to do as well. So I'd love to
Sure.
hear your
So-
take on how you're scaling.
So now for me, a lot of the things that I think about as the business grows is, one of the questions I ask myself is, if I take on this task, what does it do to my time, and how does it affect my energy on the vision of the company? And if I feel like this task that I would take on takes away my time from focusing on tomorrow and the day after and the week and the month, then it's not for me. And then now there's a great book. I forget who wrote it. Ask Who, Not How.
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Right?
who not how. Right.
And that, if I grew up middle class, so went to high school, graduated, went to college, got a degree. You're always trying to figure things out yourself. We're not taught to come together and work and use resources, because when you think about work, when you try to get promoted, it's what you did to help get promoted, right? So you always stay in this mindset of trying to figure everything out on your own. And now what I'm working on is not hiring too fast, right? Bringing in so many people at one time. Bringing in, knowing where the needs are, that's going to make the biggest dent impact in the company. And so that's how I'm looking at scaling. Because I did that in the beginning. When I first started out, once I did like 100 calls, I'm like, yeah, I got this. I brought on VAs. I brought one to start cold calling, one to do follow-ups, and then like 90 days goes by, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't closed the deal.
$1,000.
And I'm burning money, and yeah, things are getting a little shaky, like what? And then kind of had to reset, right? So once you start getting volume and deals going, start thinking about who can replace you in what positions. What do you like to do, right? Keep what you like to do, because it's enjoyable to you, and do it. But as you start scaling, your focus has to shift from working in the business to working on the people of the business. So you have to start working, and how can you develop your employees, your staff? And that's the cultural shift that you have to have mentally, that you're going to focus now your energy on cultivating an environment for the people. And when you start doing that and you start devoting energy there, people are going to start feeling it within your company. Even if they're VAs, if they're overseas, wherever they may be, it's how you interact with them and how you reward them for their hard work and what they're doing for your company. So Joey, that's something that I'm really reading on, having discussions about, because you're going to get to a point where you're going to plateau with what you can do. It's just like money, right?
Absolutely.
When we all first started out, we were probably using some of our own money, and we're like, oh yeah, we're doing good. We're doing deals. But then you start realizing, like, I need more money to do more deals. Like, I got to find more people to get in on these projects so that I can increase the volume. Same thing goes with growing your business, your employee base, right?
Scalability.
Exactly. That's where I'm at right now in growing that. So I have a project manager who's handling all of the fix and flips, and I'm still needed in those things. Like when there's I put a benchmark. Anything that requires an approval in finance is above. I think we're at 10K now.
Okay.
Anything above 10K, I need to know what's going on. Anything below 10K, you guys make the decision. Like I don't need to be involved in it. But it wasn't always like that. I built up, right? First it was 2,500. Let me see the kinds of decisions. Cool. 5, 75. Now we're at 10, right? Let's see what next year brings forward. What that does is it removes me from more and more of the daily decisions, because think about the decisions being made about $2,500.
Yeah.
Should we buy this kitchen cabinet design, or should we, guys, we know how we do the projects. I don't need to be involved in this. Mm-hmm. And so it's
make an executive decision.
Yeah, so it's empowering. It's empowering your employees. One of the mental hurdles that I've had to help some of my employees with is them trusting themselves. When you work for somebody else, especially, you have this code of protection, because you can go to your boss and say, "Yeah, what should I do here?" And what ends up happening is they start bringing you problems, and they have no solutions. So I have a rule: if you bring me a problem, that's perfectly fine, but you darn better have a solution. So I ask when I'm training, they bring me a problem. I said, my first question is, "Do you have any solutions?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah, see ya." I don't care if you come up with the craziest solution that's bankrupt the company. At least bring me something so we can now, you start engaging.
So your manager doesn't become your crutch.
Exactly.
I would do the same thing when I was
I got to start doing that a little bit more, enforcing it a little bit more. Because I'm like, you guys are welcome to ask questions, but like the second or third time you asked me the same question,
You're
you
not
should have
even
taken
trying.
notes. Yeah, like
You're not even
no.
trying.
And it has to, and it's not that they're, I think it's not that they're not trying. I think they're scared.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed like my VAs want everything to be perfect, and I'm like, guys, like I don't expect things to go perfect like all the time. Like I prefer you to make a decision. Don't get me sued. Like obviously, like if someone's like harassing you, like yes, let me know about that. But like just make a decision and like stick with it. Realistically, like you guys aren't dumb. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. Like sometimes like my VA, she's constantly like, is this the perfect reply? I'm like, it's fine. Like just send it.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just a response like to someone. It's
Right.
not the end of the
Unless you're
world.
pulling the actual plug that wires the entire building,
Exactly.
Right.
give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the perfection mindset comes from not wanting to disappoint, right? Because if you look at it psychologically, think how we all are when we're children, right? We don't want to disappoint. We don't want to make a mistake. We don't because
that's when we're penalized for it.
there you go, right?
Exactly.
So now when you empower them, even I get excited when they do make mistakes, because when they make the mistake, now we have a huddle and we talk about it, like why.
The group.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we
like
talk about it in a group, not one-on-one and hey, come into my office, shut the door behind you. No, let's talk about it openly and out loud, because it's letting the culture know, hey, this is okay. Now, it's okay that we're going to make the same mistakes over and over, right?
Right.
I preface that. I say at the conclusion of that meeting, like, okay, look, we learned. Now there's an expectation with each other that we're not making the same ones over and over. And then each of us hold each other accountable. Even though I'm, I guess, on the top, they have to hold me accountable for crazy stuff that I might do, right?
Making payroll.
There you go, right? So I think it's just a matter of constantly having that conversation, and I think over time it breaks that barrier. But there are just some people it just doesn't, and you just gotta move on.
I actually it was so sweet because this girl's been working for me for about 3-4 months. Honestly, I'm not sure. And like the first month, she just kept like asking me the same thing. And I'm like, at a certain point, I'm like, no, like make a decision. Like this is more frustrating to me. At this point, I'm doing your job for you.
Yeah.
Like no. And then like about a month later, she started being a little bit more autonomous because like I would keep you like, you got to make decisions for yourself. Like otherwise, it doesn't make sense because I'm literally doing your job for you if I'm answering everything. Like no, I get it. These are different questions, but now you're asking me the same thing repeatedly. And then she started getting a little bit more confident, a little bit. I'm like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
That's
Like, just
key.
reiterating.
You
Her,
built
like,
her
it does not
confidence.
have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about a month and a half, 2 months into working for me, she was like, she kind of left me like a voice note on WhatsApp. And she was like, Lada, like, thank you so much. Like, you've made me a hell of a lot more confident before I started this and everything. And she was like, you could see like the shift in her attitude. And it was like in this job and in general too, because like she's been so scared of like messing up and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'd rather have you mess up because I don't think you're gonna curse someone out. Like, don't curse sellers out. Like, don't do that.
Have you asked her why she wants to be such a perfectionist?
Honestly, no, but I might.
You should, no, ask her. And
Is she from the Philippines?
No, they're both in India.
So okay, so then I can answer that.
Answer that one for me.
You should have just. I would have saved you a lot of headaches.
Take out your notepad.
Yeah,
Take out
Like,
your notepad.
So the Indian. I'll just give you like a quick synopsis. Indian culture is generally a servant minded, like subservient minded. If you look at a lot of the, when you start going out in public now, start watching. A lot of Indian people are very reserved, and they're kind of held back because culturally that's how it is. It's very hierarchical, right? Like for example, when I was working for a company, it's a predominantly Indian pharmaceutical company. And I remember sitting in the meeting and I had I wanted to put an input. I'm an adult man with a family. Taps me on my leg and tells me, go like this. I said, yeah, this isn't the company for me. I'm leaving, right? And I had to eventually leave out of there. But to your point, if you ask them, they may have had an experience or previous experiences that has led to that through previous employers. And you may be the one that's just breaking that mold by asking them. What they're going to take that as is, oh, she really cares. And you're at first, when you ask it, you're going to get like a very bland answer. But just keep probing. And then when you really get to it, that person is going to become even more valuable for your business. That's just something that I picked up.
Fair enough. Like I believe that. And like I noticed like I could tell it because funny enough, it used to be one of her cousins that used to work for me, and then he totally got fired. He actually did curse out a seller, like pretty badly, and, like fired on the spot.
Wow.
I'm like, we do not do this. And now her fiance is working with me too.
Okay.
We took over the other guy's spot, and like they're both doing such a good job. And like I could see like the husband, but he also has his own business, so it's a little bit more like. Outgoing when it comes to this stuff, but like I could tell she's a little bit more reserved, and like I don't know, like because I also come from like another country where women kind of have a little bit less say, and like I guess I could see that too a little bit with her. Not like necessarily saying anything. Like, I think actually like in their relationship, like she has like a big say like in the dynamic, but it's like I could see maybe like culturally she feels a little bit suppressed. It's like, and like I'm kind of like, girl.
Welcome
just
to the
do
USA.
Your stuff. Like, I don't care if you mess up. Like, don't curse people out. That's pretty much like the only rule. Like, you get away with pretty much anything else. Like, if you're listening to this, like, I don't think I sent you the link to this, but like
The other thing in hiring VAs, just hire a whole bunch. Like, so I was like and this was from my pharma background in hiring people. It would be like 6-7 rounds of interviewing. I'm like, why does this person have to go through this many rounds of interviewing? You got to first get past the HR, then you got the
First
head of
interview,
HR,
second interview.
Right. What I was like, well, I'm just going to do a shotgun approach. I'm just going to hire 5-10 people, let them know right up you're going to get paid for working, but only 1 or 2 of you are going to keep the job, and it's based on performance.
Most big businesses do it, like
And
especially
then
retail.
And then what happens from there, that 1 or 2 person that you hire, if they're your VA like A players, their surrounding is likely A players. Hey, I'm looking for somebody to fill this role. Do you know anybody?
yeah, it works out
And
really
that's it.
well. Like when I let the guy go, like her fiance ended up working for me, and it was like he's really good. And I guess the way I approached him is like, well, you got to be friendly. You're outbound market. Like you're calling people. You got to have a sense of friendliness, good English, and like being able to follow instructions to like a certain extent. Like don't go like crazy. Like be able to come up with ways to answer weird questions.
Yeah.
Like, but that was pretty much it. Because I'm like, you'll learn a lot more on the job, and being able to learn on the job and like
Absolutely.
remember things that happen.
Absolutely.
In retail, they do the same thing, whether it's Target, UPS, especially right now, the seasonal hiring. That's just a way of weeding out, getting new people, bouncing out the ones that aren't working out, that have already been there, and the ones that just weren't going to show up to work aren't going to show up to work anyway.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
You lost for words?
No. So I'm just trying to transition it, unfortunately, to end the show because our time is up.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, this was an amazing episode. Had a lot of fun and also so much education and nuggets. And so we're gonna start off, Vlada. How can people get in touch with you?
You guys could shoot me a message on Insta, vlada.a.kobileva. My last name. They'll put it up.
Yeah, I'll put
for
it
you
up.
guys.
So, and Joe?
Joseph Fowler, Joe Does Mortgages. If you need any assistance, any sort of residential or investment property assistance, I can help you with DSR loans, bank statement loans, down payment assistance, VA, USDA, anything you can think of under the sun, hard money loans. I can help you out with that. 908-669-9091 or Joe Does Mortgages on all social media.
Nice.
Awesome. And Amit?
Yep. Amit Darji. My phone number is 856-938-8333. That will go right to my phone. You can text me, whatever you need help with.
You should have just gave your name and let them skip trace you and try to find
Oh
your
my
name.
God. You should have.
That would have been interesting, right?
Yeah.
That would have been a great homework assignment.
I'm on Facebook, Amit Darji. TikTok is the Amit Darji Show, same as YouTube, Instagram. I'm on all the platforms. You can check the content out. And again, I'm here to help you guys. Whatever you need help with, if you're struggling on deals right now that you have going on, reach out. We can problem solve together and find a solution for you guys.
Do you JV with deals as well?
Say that again.
Do you JV with deals?
Joint
Oh
venture.
yeah, absolutely. I'll joint venture. I actually prefer it because you learn a lot more. Because you you look at new deals and problem solve new things, and they may have been working on something where I might not have thought of, but my piece will fit into their missing link to solve it, right? And that's why, I love JV, actually.
Awesome.
I prefer
Okay.
it.
Good to know.
Yeah, I do a lot of JVs. We just recently got outbidded on a property over in Maplewood. Unfortunately,
You lost it?
Yeah, I lost it. Yeah, we already sent in everything, the bid, the whole thing, and then
Cash deal.
yeah, somebody came in with a cash deal, 20 grand higher. So we said, those numbers don't work for us.
Sometimes in real estate, their win is their loss is going to be your win.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're going to end up coming back when the due diligence period's done because
Yep.
they're like, we locked it up too high.
Yeah.
So you guys might still get it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially today where every nickel counts.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so Amit, thank you so much for coming. He's a good client of ours at Kitchen Design Lab. He buys a lot of kitchens from us. And so that's why I know he's legit. And again, we're here at the Kitchen Design Lab, sell kitchen cabinets, installations, and countertops as well. So anything you guys need, give us a shout, 973-830-2645. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're still hot.
You put the